Berardi Immigration Law is a great resource for the latest in immigration news and trends. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel. It really helps out the channel. And click that notification bell so you never miss a video from Berardi Immigration Law.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabriella Agostinelli with Berardi Immigration Law, and the purpose of this video is to go over everything you need to know about your upcoming L-1B visa appointment. So what is the L1 category anyway? Well, the L1 visa is the intercompany transferee visa. This is for individuals who have been employed for at least 1 full year out of the last 3 years by a company outside the United States, which has an affiliated operation in the United States, both of which are doing business, and that you have held either a managerial or specialized knowledge position outside the United States. And these kinds of services, managerial or specialized knowledge, are needed by the U.S. entity at this time, and therefore you are being transferred. So, why do we call this the L1 blanket? How is this different from just an L1 visa? Well, in an L1 blanket program, United States Citizenship and Immigration Service predetermines that a company has international affiliates that are indeed related legally to the company inside the United States, and that both the companies outside the United States and the company inside the United States are actively doing business. That has all been predetermined. So the only thing the government seeks to understand in the actual L1 blanket visa interview is whether or not you hold a qualifying role with the company. And if the government determines that that is true, you are approved on the spot, and as soon as your visa is released, you are able to enter the United States and work. In other visa category styles, if you haven't been approved for the blanket, the government's going to have to predetermine your eligibility through a separate mail-in application to USCIS. That's more cumbersome and takes a lot longer. This is a much more streamlined version of getting your L1 visa. Okay, well, what about the L1B? What is that? You're applying for the L-1B visa for individuals with specialized knowledge. That's an individual who has a very in-depth understanding of the company's products, technology, or way of doing things to a greater extent that may be found within the industry or perhaps even within your own team in the United States or outside the United States. And because you hold this really valuable knowledge, it's important to the company to bring your services to the United States. And that is what we're trying to really get at the heart of in your visa interview. Now, before we talk about talking points and everything associated with specialized knowledge, let's talk about logistics first. Okay, so when you booked your appointment, you received an appointment confirmation notice and a DS-160 confirmation page. These are 2 documents you're going to want to carry with you to your appointment, in addition to the package that was prepared by our team that we will be giving you. You're going to want to present these appointment confirmation notices to the embassy officer standing at the door of the consulate or the embassy. And we say, don't arrive any more than 15 minutes early to your appointment. When you show up at the door, you're going to want to give the officer these notices because that's your ticket inside the embassy. That shows that you actually have an appointment. They're going to send you inside, put you through security, and then direct you to the non-immigrant visa unit, where you will sit until your name is called. Now, this is called a visa appointment, but it's really not like a sit-down interview. This is going to be a very fast, cursory interview that you're going to be standing up behind a plexiglass wall and speaking to an officer for a very short period of time. These officers generally only have about 3 minutes per individual to make the determination that an individual is in fact eligible for the visa category sought. So time is of the essence, and it's important not to waste any words during this actual interview. So what are the kinds of things that we are going to need to do when we get up to the counter? Well, we will have prepared a full packet for you. In reality, much of that packet is not even going to be reviewed by the officer, because the officer, like I said, will be asking questions, and will be making a determination based off your answers. So although you were very helpful in providing documentation to our firm about how you have specialized knowledge, you most likely won't need to show it, but it's good to have to give you confidence as you walk into that interview that you have evidence showing that you know your stuff. And should a question arise, you can absolutely say to the officer, I have all of this documentation in support of my specialized knowledge here, and I'm happy to show you. Well, anyway, you are going to go up to the counter and they will start asking you questions. Now, what are some questions they're typically going to be asking? Well, the big one is, what do you do for your company and how do you have specialized knowledge? And remember, you don't have a lot of time. So when we are going to answer this question, we're going to want to use words like, well, I have expertise in, I have rare knowledge because I have the unique skill of doing. And remember, when we're answering these questions, there's a lot of employees in your company, but there's a reason why your company is choosing to put you on a plane or send you to the border to cross into the United States to perform highly specialized work. You're of great value to your company, and remember that as you answer your questions. What is it that you know that most people don't know about it? Where is the gap in your company or in the industry within the United States such that they need to bring you to the United States? You clearly have a unique skill. Now is your opportunity to talk about that. What sets you apart from others? What can't they find in the United States? That's how you should be answering your question when they're asking about your specialized knowledge. Now, other common questions that you're going to be asked are, where will you be staying in the United States? Now, on Form I-129S, which should be in triplicate in your petition package, the government asks where you're going to be staying. And this question was also asked on your DS-160 application form. Be sure to answer in conformity to what is already on these documents. They're going to be saying, where are you staying inside the United States? And you can say the work site where you generally intend to be in the United States. If they ask, where will you be staying? You can say, oh, my employer is putting me up in a hotel close to there. If they ask you how long you're going, if you're a permanent transfer, you can say it's my understanding that they are going to be keeping me there for the full 3-year validity period of this blanket if you are requesting 3 years of status. Or if you're just coming in periodically on an as-needed basis, you simply tell the officer, I will be entering on a project basis inside the United States, and I do not at this point in time have any plan other than to enter as needed. They might ask you the question of who's paying for this transfer to the United States. And you can say, well, if I am a permanent transfer, well, I will now be remunerated by the company in the United States, if that's the case. If they ask you, if it's the case that you, in fact, are going to only enter the United States as needed, well, in that case, you can say, if this is the case, I'm going to continue to stay on payroll of my employer outside the United States, and they will be paying for all of my expenses for travel and stay in the United States while I'm here. Now, another question that they might ask is, what is your degree in? When you apply for an L-1B blanket at the embassy, you are required to have at least the U.S. equivalent of a 4-year bachelor's degree. So be prepared to have your documentation in support of your degree with you, and be prepared to speak to this. Another important question they will ask is, how long have you been with the company? Now, L-1 regulations only require that an individual is employed by a company for 1 full year before applying for this visa. However, it's been our experience that when individuals have between 1 to 2 years of experience, or between 1 and 18 months of experience, there are officers who arbitrarily use their discretion to come to the conclusion that perhaps you don't have specialized knowledge, that you can't really formulate specialized knowledge within that time frame. If you do fall within the 1 to 2 year time frame, be prepared to advocate especially intensely for yourself, because this question might come up. I may have only been with a company for 18 months, but in that 18 months, I have done something that nobody else has done. In that 18 months, I have honed a very specialized niche within the company or within the industry. Be prepared to advocate for yourself. Okay, so following this discussion of specialized knowledge and all the questions they're going to ask, the government's going to need to see a few of the documents in your package. Remember how we talked about that form I-129S in triplicate? Well, now's the time where you are going to hand over all 3 copies of this form, and the government will then endorse each of these 3 forms and give you at least 1 copy back. And on this endorsement, it should say that you have been approved for a certain period of time in the L1 category. Now, once you hand them the I-129S, you're also going to want to hand them the company's blanket approval notice. This is called Form I-797. Now, this is the document that shows the consular officer that your company has already been pre-certified by United States Citizenship and Immigration Service as being a blanket entity after having demonstrated that it has various affiliates overseas and in the United States, all of which are doing business and are related on a corporate level. As long as we can show that your employer is one of those entities, the government will be able to process your visa. So, you have your documents stamped, you've been told that you've been approved. What's next? Well, the government will hold on to your passport for about 5 to 7 business days so that it can make the visa an actual page in the passport. It will then return the passport with the new visa to the location that you chose when you booked your appointment. So you have your new passport, you have the visa, you have your passport with the new visa, you have the stamped Form I-129S, you have the blanket I-797 approval notice, and these are the documents that you're going to need to carry with you when you make your entrance to the United States. Again, that's your visa and your passport, that's the stamped Form I-129S, and it's a copy of the L1 blanket approval notice received by your company. As long as you carry these 3 documents with you to the United States, you should be admitted for the period of time that was granted to you at the embassy. If you have any questions about this process, please don't hesitate to reach out to your contact at our firm. This is a really, really great visa category to utilize. It makes life a lot easier and makes it faster for individuals to enter the United States, and it's pretty streamlined. But with that said, you still might have additional questions, and we'd be happy to assist you. Reach out today. Good luck at your interview, and we can't wait to hear that you've been approved. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like our video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that notification button so you never miss one of these important updates. Also, check out the Berardi blog that's on our website at berardiimmigrationlaw.com. The blog is updated 2 to 3 times a week, contains tons of up-to-date information on policies and trends. You won't want to miss it.